My guest today was nominated for a Tony Award for originating the role of Elder Price in the Book of Mormon, and also appeared on Broadway in Hairspray and Jersey Boys. These days, he's playing everyone's favorite German transsexual rocker in Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Hello, Andrew Rannells.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Look how sharp you look.
Well, thanks. I had to step it up for you here.
Yeah, this is very, and I love the no socks.
Well, it's still summertime.
It's still summer.
I'm holding on to that.
And it's hot, actually.
It's really hot out.
It's a disgusting day to be walking around in a suit.
Yeah, but
we're both doing it.
But I'm doing it. We're doing it.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm
okay,
good.
Let me just get this out of the way.
Do it.
I saw Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Okay.
I've seen many people play Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Sure.
You're phenomenal.
Thank you very
in
much.
this show. I saw it
Thank you.
last week. Holy crap. I mean, is it feeling good? Do you feel like you're on fire up there?
It's really fun. I mean, it's a very satisfying and fun show to get to do, because once it starts, you're really just, you're the engine that's driving that.
But I have to say,
minutes.
as an audience member, words like satisfying and fun are not what you get from seeing you. You're really you need some big adjectives for this performance.
Thank you. I feel very fortunate to get a chance to do it. Yeah.
And so you obviously stepped into the heels after Neil Patrick Harris,
Indeed,
which was sort of a legendary run,
sure.
and immediately a legendary run that he had,
yeah.
of doing the role and winning a Tony and all that. And you didn't really seem nervous about that. I mean, when I talked to you before you went in, it was just kind of like you have this great confidence about you.
Oh, well, thank you. I started my Broadway career as a replacement, so the idea that somebody leaves on a Sunday and somebody new starts on a Tuesday
right.
is that was already sort of in my blood.
Right.
Now, obviously, this is a much larger show and a much larger role, but yeah, I felt like I still just had to treat it the same way, that it's a job, and I'm
right.
very fortunate that this is a hit show that's continuing a very successful run, and it was my job. Part of that was to make as seamless a transition as possible into this company and into the
mm-hmm.
production. So, yeah, so I just sort of had to. There's no way to do it except just jump in.
You literally are jumping in the
literally
shoot.
a lot of jumping.
How's that going? How's the jump?
So far, so good. It's I'm trying not to think about it too much, because if I thought about it too much, I think it would maybe freak me out a little.
Right.
So I just put them on, and I was fortunate this summer to get to work on this Nancy Meyers movie called The Intern.
Right.
It's filming here for the summer.
Right.
And the majority of my scenes were with Anne Hathaway, and it had just been announced that I was going to do it, and we were working together, and she asked me about the heels. I started practicing, and I was like, well, not really. I mean, kind of. I had them, but I didn't really. I was like, how the hell do you practice in these? And she was like, just don't think about it. Just do it.
Just do it.
And she was correct. I just put them on.
You just put it on and you just walk.
Yeah, and then every rehearsal we had, I wore them for the entire time, and then that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever done drag not on stage? For fun?
No, but I did a production of Hedwig
right.
in Austin, Texas,
right.
at the Zachary Scott Theater in 2002.
Right.
So I was familiar with this particular drag,
right.
this
right.
sort of. I mean, because this isn't pretty drag. This is.
Yeah.
I mean, even though Mike Potter, who designed the hair and the makeup, it's very lovely. It's a very lovely makeup.
It's nice.
But it's not I'm not a pretty girl or anything.
Right, not trying to be a pretty girl.
Rough. I'm a pretty rough looking lady. So that was my mother's big concern when she was like, "Are you gonna be pretty?" I was like, "Mom, I don't think so. I'm sorry to let you down, but I'm not gonna be a pretty lady."
What else did you do around the country that I don't know about? Did you do anything else?
Regionally,
the early days.
The craziest early job that I had was Pokemon Live, which started at Radio City Music Hall and then went on a tiny tour to a few different cities.
And you played what?
I played James from Team Rocket.
Okay.
The only reason this is relevant is to this particular conversation is that actually the hair designer for that production, Steven, actually works at Hedwig at the Belasco.
Oh wow!
So it's weird all those years later to be working with Steven again.
Old Pokemon stories
old Pokemon
backstage.
Stories, yeah. And I mean, there's a couple other people who are in Pokemon Live, and you know who you are, who are on Broadway right now. I'm not going to out you.
You won't out them?
Who you are.
You're saying that this is the big training ground that we didn't know about, the Pokemon
There was
world?
quite a few Pokemon alumni.
Why is it a secret?
Who are still working?
'Cause
I don't. You
it's
know
not in
what?
their playbill bios?
We might as well have done like a snuff film together. I mean, it's like it's so embarrassing. Like, but I'm owning it. I'm just gonna own it. I did it. I did it.
Now, singing Hedwig, because holy cow, your voice sounds incredible.
Thank you very
up
much.
There. It makes me want another Hedwig album immediately.
Oh,
Just
wow.
More Hedwig albums. Sounds incredible.
Thank you.
How hard is this? I've always been. Like seeing Book of Mormon and hearing you sing "I Believe" in Book of Mormon was always sort of a wow moment
Oh,
too.
thank you.
You have a great voice.
Thank you.
But so is it easy to sing this amazing Stephen Trask music?
Is it easy? It's not easy. But I will say it's a little bit of a relief because it's not as high as the Book of Mormon.
Okay,
Like
right.
the Book
Right.
of Mormon is vocally it's a very
Right,
high show.
right.
So there were moments like that I would get very stressed about my voice and like are those notes going to be there? And
Right.
with this, it's because of the structure of the show and the story that we're telling, there's a lot more forgiveness about
right.
vocal imperfections.
Right.
If you crack, if you've not, if things aren't exactly perfect
Right.
vocally, I think it only sort of like adds to the authenticity of this
Mm-hmm.
character and the person. So I'm not thinking about it as much, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice just to get up there and do it. And you're being backed by this incredible band and Lena
Right.
Hall, and you really do feel like there's this wall of sound behind you in a way that like you don't really get to do that a lot on Broadway, have the band on stage with you.
Right.
And it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge to feel them around you and next to you, and it creates a much different confidence level while you're singing.
The first thing I thought when I was watching you do it is, wow, you're like addressing it's like a one-man show. I mean, yes, you
Yeah,
have this
you're really
great
just
band
like-
behind you,
yeah.
but you're like really up there like telling these stories in a way that you probably never have done on a Broadway stage before. I mean, it's really like,
No.
it really is you just sort of
Yeah,
taking
just-
them on the storytelling. And is that daunting?
It's a little crazy. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy being able to connect specifically to the audience.
Right.
I was always a really bad cheat at the Book of Mormon, like looking into the audience, being like, "Who's here tonight?" Like finding
Well, celebrities
moments to,
every
like-
night, right?
Yeah, or just like, "Where are my friends sitting?" Like trying to like find where people were. Completely unprofessional. But in this show, it's very much encouraged to look into the audience and make eye
right,
contact
right.
and like. And it's nice, and it actually weirdly puts me at ease. To feel like, okay, we don't have to, there's no pretension here about who she's supposed to be or what this,
Right.
how I'm supposed to be presenting this. Like, it can be a little clunky and it can be a little busted, and it works well, and it's fun. It's
Is
fun.
there anything that would like throw you off if you saw it in the audience? Like, is anything sort of like, do you like find yourself like obsessing over that woman's hair or like that guy's weird?
Well,
you're
last Sunday, we do a Sunday night show, which is a lot of fun. Last show of the week, which is
Right.
always like exciting, and there's generally a lot of other show people there, which is really fun.
Right.
Like other Broadway folk come in and see that performance, so that's fun. And front row, dead center, man asleep, and he made the bold choice to fall asleep like in the second half of the show, like after Wig in a Box, where it's really just like it's
Right.
like Wicked Little Town, into like a very emotional monologue. And this douche just passed out, and it took everything in my because any other point in the show I could have been like, "Hey, asshole, like
Right.
wake the
Right,
f
it
up."
could have been a thing.
But I couldn't. I was like, I can't do it now because
Right.
like now we're invested in this other piece of the
Right.
story that like that would be wildly inappropriate. But I took everything in my being to like, don't hit this person. And I also had to remind myself that there's like 1,000 other people here who are paying.
What do you
to see
think?
who
He
this-
must have had quite a day, huh?
I don't know, and he came late too.
He came late.
He
to
came
the late
late.
Sunday night show and then fell asleep.
And then fell asleep. So he walked in after Tear Me Down. And I said to him, I was like, I'm not doing that number again. I'm not doing it. So
Are you gonna be haunted by that guy's face? Like, can you still remember what he looked like?
no, I forgot him already.
Just let it go. Let
Just
it
letting
go.
it go.
So little Andrew Rannells in Omaha, right?
Yep.
That's where you grew up.
Omaha, Nebraska.
What were you rocking out to? Were you
Miami Sound Machine.
Oh my God, so good.
To Pow. Remember Heart and Soul?
To Pow. Yeah.
Give a little bit of heart and soul.
soul.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Early Kylie Minogue, of course.
Right.
Locomotion, of course. I Should Be So Lucky. I mean, I didn't find like musical theater stuff for a while, so I was listening to basically just like the same crappy pop music that children listen to forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like around, I guess I was like in the 6th grade was when I like got the Into the Woods cassette tape, and then that sort of changed
Is that what it was?
the course of
I remember the
everything.
Into the Woods cassette tape came in like a long box. Do you remember that?
I didn't get the long box, but this is how nerdy I was. I became obsessed with it, and I on the back of the cassette jacket it said to send away for a free libretto,
yeah,
and
you
I
did.
did.
Right.
I sent away for it, and I got it.
I
and
did
I was
too.
like, wait, what? And I was like, what is a libretto? And like flipping, there was picture. That was a special treat.
I had that too. I had that too. You had to mail
but I had
away.
to send away for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent away for it.
Yeah, I
Oh
got
no,
it.
I made the effort.
Oh, I got it.
I remember
but
the
that
exact.
show really like changed my
Into the Woods.
Then I was like, that's what I want to do now.
Into the Woods did it.
Is musical theater. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh hell yeah.
So then you started
Then it was like
singing and dancing, or what?
singing and dancing, doing all sorts of like.
You weren't seeing were you seeing shows, or did your parents expose you at all to this?
No, I didn't. The first time I came to New York, I was 18. I was looking at colleges, and Rent was the first Broadway show that I saw. So that's a little. I mean, not that. I mean, that was a while ago, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was 18 before I saw my first Broadway show, and that was the first Broadway audition I had too. Was for Rent, because I don't know if I don't know if I moved here in '97,
Right.
which was the year after Rent opened, and there used to be these signs like on phone, like on phone
Right,
booths,
right.
because there were phone booths then, that said, "Can you sing? Audition for Rent."
Wow.
Like that's how crazy it was, and they would just have these massive open calls
Right.
for Rent, and I remember going to quite a few, and then like getting on the list at Telsey to I would actually get called in for it, which was
Okay.
like a huge, but I never got it.
Well, yeah, because you say that it took you a long time to
Get a show. Well, yeah, I was. That was '97. I didn't book Hairspray until 2004, so I tripped around and did I was in college for part of that time, and then I did some regional stuff, and then I took a little break and did a lot of voiceover work for
Right.
a few years. That's
Right.
all I did was
Right.
animation.
Right. I also read in an interview with you that you spent the first 7 years in New York drunk.
Well, how long have I been here? It could have been long. Well, I will say, it was very hard to, find places that didn't card when I first moved here because I was underage.
Okay, right.
That was super duper stressful.
Right.
Trying to find some place that would serve you alcohol. Yeah, but then, once you turn 21, then it's like, all right, all bets are off. But the only place that we could find, my friend Zuzana Shotkovsky, who's an actor and that is my best friend, we finally one night after getting kicked out of every bar imaginable, finally walked into Rose's Turn, which is a piano bar that's closed, unfortunately. And they couldn't have cared less. They were like, what are you, 12? We will serve you.
And that's why they're closed.
That's why but we started hanging out there because they never
Did you get up and
us.
sing? It's a
Yeah,
piano
yeah.
bar.
It was a piano bar. I got up and sang. I would sing Can't Take My Eyes Off of You,
Nice.
and I would sing Copacabana. That was my follow-up, was Copacabana. Because I could always
Give 'em
sing
an
both of them.
up-tempo.
No matter
Leave 'em
how
with
drunk I
up-tempo.
got, I could sing those songs perfectly. I was like, I'm just going to stick with that. Yeah.
Well, your career is on fire. I love watching what's happened to you in the last couple of years
Thank
because
you.
it's just one thing ever since Book of Mormon, one thing after the next has just been sort of building,
pretty
and
cuckoo.
it's so great, and you've been able to do it sort of, and you've done so many interesting things. So you're on The New Normal, which was a show that didn't last, but it's going to be one of those shows you're going to be asked about that show for the rest of your life because it's going to be one of those 30
Probably.
years from now,
Yeah.
remember that groundbreaking The New Normal? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
I'm very proud of that show, and I'm
Yeah.
proud of that. I got to be a part of it, and that we got to tell that whole story. And
Right.
Yeah.
Did you? But you're openly gay,
Yeah.
and you sort of never. Was that always going to be a given for you? Did you always when you first got to New York?
Yeah.
Were you open? Were you gay? Where
Yeah.
were you at that point?
Yeah, and I never
Or did Rose's Turn help you discover that?
turned it. No, I was, and I was out, and I never really gave it much thought, maybe naively, because
Right.
I figured that I knew that the type of career I wanted wasn't going to be affected by that, or at least in my mind, it wasn't going to be affected by that. I wasn't out to be. I didn't want to be James Bond. I don't want to be Superman. I wanted to, be on Broadway and do musical theater. So I was working under the assumption that, like, well, I can just live my life and be who I want to be, and that's not going to cost me any jobs. The flip side of that is it probably did cost me some jobs along the way. But luckily, I just kept plugging along and, was met with these, this amazing creative team of Trey Parker and Matt Stone and Bobby Lopez, who wasn't even like on their radar that like that was a thing, which was amazing. And that, obviously that show really changed my whole career and my whole life.
Absolutely.
But it was because like they didn't really care. It wasn't even a question. Like it never even came up. And I feel like sometimes it does come up in weird ways, even in musical theater, where you'd think like, why would this ever be an issue? But it does come up sometimes.
Can you give me an example of that?
I will say that there have been situations where they say like, well, the actor who got it, he's really great. He's a straight guy. And they always like add that in. That's always part of the description of the actor. Like I was replaced once in a show after doing it for a while, and the producer said to me, "He's great. He's straight. He's a little bit younger than you." But the fact that straight was the first thing that she said, I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
It was such a weird thing to like bring up as like a plus. I was like, "This is a musical, ma'am.
Yeah.
If he's not gay, there's a problem." As far as I'm concerned, you should have your equity card taken away. You. Clearly, that Hedwig show is really running out. Somebody said to me the other night, they're like, Neil didn't curse that much in the show, and I was like, didn't he? Oh shit! All right, sorry. You're just allowed to do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That show, yeah.
So has Lena Dunham been to the show?
Yes, she. Oh yeah,
she's very excited about you doing it.
Yeah, she came my very first performance, which I foolishly was going to give myself. It was August 20th, and I was like, maybe I'll give myself like 3 for nothing, and then I'll invite some people to come. And we were still filming Girls, and she was like, I just bought 20 tickets to your first show. And I was like, okay. So then we just turned it into like, that was my first show, and I had a whole bunch of friends, and we had a big party, and which was really fun. But she was very sweet and very supportive, and got a whole group from Girls to come out and do the show.
I love Girls.
Oh, thanks.
And I love Elijah. Now, she came to see you in Book of Mormon? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Opening night. She and the executive producer of Girls, Jenny Connor, came to opening night of the Book of Mormon, and that's how we met.
And then what happened?
And then I got a call, I would say, I don't know, a couple weeks later, saying that there's this show, this genius woman wrote this movie called Tiny Furniture, and now she has a series at HBO, and she would like to meet with me to audition for this part, but the part wasn't really like, I wasn't right for it. It was written completely different. It was supposed to be like this very hipstery, like yoga instructor with a beard, and it was like a very different idea.
Okay.
But they were curious if I could come in and just like meet with them and read it and see how that would go. So I went in and met with them, and it was so fun, and we just got to like improvise a whole bunch, and they just let me like make up a bunch of stuff. Which was really fun. And then, they asked me to come and join them. So I did one day, which was the first episode that I was in the first season. And then they said, we'd love to have you back. And I, it was they were so sweet, but I was like, they're not going to have me back. This is not really a thing. And then they did. They called like later that week, and they're like, we worked you into the rest of the season.
And now you're a series regular.
Nuts. Yeah.
So how close is Elijah to you?
I mean, I hope not that close. But of course there are, parts of it that are pretty close to me, I suppose. Like I don't want to say the meaner parts, but there are certainly elements to that. Yeah.
He's hilarious.
But the fun part about playing that is that like you get to say like terrible, terrible things to people. And it's just like accepted, and it's funny, and yeah. I just get to give like horrible advice, and so that's fun to do.
Do you think Lena Dunham will ever sort of come into this Broadway world at all? Can you see that happening? Is she writing like a play for you two to star in? That'd be fun.
Not to my knowledge. That's a dream come true if that happened. I would love it. She's the busiest girl in the world, which is a problem. I mean, it's a good problem. But as you know, to sign up to do these Broadway gigs, I mean, this Hedwig thing is like such a fluke that like they offered me 8 weeks.
Right.
That's unheard of that you would ever get to do a Broadway show for 8 weeks.
Right.
On purpose. I know some things run for 8 weeks by accident.
Or 8 hours.
Or 8
right.
hours.
Right.
But I mean, this was such a crazy situation where they
Yeah.
were like, it's just 8 weeks, you can come in. But normally, you know, like the Book of Mormon, you sign for a year. Even if you're a replacement, you sign for like 6 months. Like,
Right.
it's a lot of time. So
Right.
I think for her, it'd be tricky to find like that magical window of time where she could really devote
I think she
to.
could write something.
I would love that. If she wants to, I mean, maybe I'll text her right now.
Yeah.
Write a play. You know, we had
Text her.
I've said this before and it's been repeated. We did that episode last season with Patti LuPone
Yeah.
and Reed Birney played her husband, and the 4 of us were on the set all day, and I forget who came up with it, but they're like, let's do Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And I was like, please, Jesus. Every time I see Patti LuPone, which is not often, but sometimes when I see her, I'm like, can we do that? There's a line that in Midnight Radio at the end where I say, and here's to Patty. And it's supposed to be Patti Smith. That's what Stephen Trask wrote.
Right.
Not when I do it. Not when I do it, friend. I'm singing that to Patti LuPone every night, and I'm just saying it out loud now.
And that's why we love you. Because you're thinking of Patti LuPone.
I'm not thinking of Patti Smith. I'm thinking of Patti LuPone. That's what I'm singing.
So what are you doing after this? What are you doing next?
I go back to Los Angeles and, you know, work on being more tan and maybe get a little blonder and, yeah, just kind of rest for a moment.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You have a pretty fabulous life, it sounds like.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
good.
you. I'm feeling very fortunate.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
very,
exciting.
very
It's
fortunate.
exciting to see this all happen to you.
Thank you.
Are there any like big final question? Are there any big like classic things you would want to do on Broadway? Are there any like because you know I look at you and you've had such an interesting career. Like you've gotten to do all these sort of really cool roles.
Yeah.
Are there any like just like classic Broadway like tenor roles you want to do or like?
Yeah, I want to do Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. That Anthony Haley show.
Wow, I don't
what
even
I
know
wanna
that
do.
show. That's
You don't?
literally like because that show's been gone for so
Yeah,
long. Why
it's
do you
not-
know it?
I just love that music.
The music's great.
Yeah.
the music's great.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do? Is this something we're gonna do?
I don't know, but I've
let's-
always wanted to do that.
let's do it, maybe-
It's a tricky show. Like it's a very tricky show, but a really.
It's a one-man musical, isn't it?
No, it's a one man, one lady, and there's an ensemble, but it's really just this guy and this girl.
Did you cast a girl yet in your fantasy head version?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it out loud though because I don't want to jinx it.
Someone from Pokemon.
But you know who you are. The
Okay.
secret works. No, I don't know. I don't know.
I want to do this. I don't know the show, but I want to do. I think we should do this.
I think you would enjoy it. It's good music.
It is good. I do know some of
Yeah.
the music.
It's fun stuff.
Okay, so maybe stop your career. We want to get off and do the show on Broadway for a
So
little
awkward.
bit. I know, but you're
So
like
awkward.
you're on a roll. You have no time for Broadway, but thank you for
Oh my
thank you
God.
for stopping.
Thanks for having me to Broadway.com.
And seriously, you're welcome here anytime.
Thank you. I
Literally,
appreciate
just
that.
walk in that door whenever you
All right,
want.
perfect.
Seriously, you have to see Hedwig. Everybody. I know you saw Neil Patrick Harris, but you have to see this guy because
Thank you.
it is phenomenal. I was truly blown away.
Thank you very much.
I'm excited to see, and I like what you look like when you're in boy drag too, with your hair all messed up, the rocker look.
I know,
It's
yeah.
a whole different thing. When you scowl, it's a whole different thing.
Oh,
We're so
thanks,
used to the smile, but when
I
you're like,
appreciate that.
yeah, it's a whole other thing. So anyway, everyone, check out Hedwig, and thank you so much, Andrew, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.